I thought I had buried him somewhere between old yearbooks and half-forgotten dreams. Turns out, I had only shoved the memory into a dark corner of my chest, waiting for it to claw back out. And there he was, standing in my doorway like a ghost dressed in flesh, looking at me as if time had never passed. Ethan. I breathed, his name trembling on my lips. More confession than greeting. The room stilled. Even the hum of the refrigerator seemed to fade, like the universe understood the gravity of what had just happened. My old classmate, my first almost love, the boy who had both saved and wrecked me back in high school, was here in my apartment in Brooklyn. Years later, when I least expected, when I least wanted to face the past I never truly let go. He leaned against the doorframe, hands shoved into the pockets of his jacket, his hair damp from the autumn drizzle outside. There was something painfully familiar in the curve of his shoulders. In the restless way he shifted his weight, and I hated that my body still recognized him before my mind could catch up. "You look different," he said finally, voice rougher than I remembered, like it had carried too many unspoken words over the years. "And you," I answered, though my throat felt tight. "You look exactly the same." It wasn't true. He looked older, sharper, as if life had carved its stories into his face. But his eyes, those eyes that once haunted me through restless nights, hadn't changed at all. Memories hit me like a punch. The way he used to lean across his desk during chemistry, whispering stupid jokes that made me laugh even when I didn't want to. The way he brushed my hand once at a school dance when no one was watching. The way he disappeared the day after graduation without explanation. And now he was here. I swallowed hard and motioned him inside, though my chest screamed that this was a mistake. "You want to come in? Or just stand there like you're selling something?" The corner of his mouth lifted, that same smirk that once undid me. He stepped in, and with that simple action, the air shifted. He brought the past with him, uninvited, undeniable. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, silence stretching like a chasm between us. I busied myself with gathering the papers scattered on the coffee table, notes from my job at the magazine, drafts I hadn't bothered to clean up. Anything to keep my hands occupied, to keep them from trembling. "So," I said, pretending casualness I didn't feel. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" "I moved back," he said simply, as if those words didn't carry the weight of 1,000 unsaid things. "Back to New York." He nodded, eyes flicking toward me, then away. "Work, life, a bit of both." A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "Funny. You're the last person I thought I'd see here." "I know." His voice was quieter now. "Believe me, I didn't plan this either." But part of me wondered if he did. If fate had its twisted sense of humor. Or if he had looked me up deliberately. Curious if I had survived the years he wasn't in. I leaned back, forcing a smile that felt sharp around the edges. "Well, congratulations. You found me." Our eyes locked then, and the smile died. There it was again, that pull. That dangerous, infuriating gravity that had never loosened its grip. High school came rushing back like a film reel I couldn't pause. The way he sat beside me in English class, his knee brushing mine under the desk, neither of us pulling away. The summer nights when we drove to the lake just to escape the suffocating small-town air, our laughter echoing across the water. The almost kiss by the bleachers, interrupted by footsteps and fear. And the last night, when he disappeared without saying goodbye, leaving me with a silence that hurt worse than rejection. I had spent years convincing myself I didn't need closure, that the past was just the past. But seeing him now, I realized how much I had lied. "You hate me," Ethan said suddenly, breaking the silence. His gaze was steady, though his voice faltered at the edges. I stiffened. "That's a little dramatic." don't you think? Maybe. But it's true. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I can see it in your eyes. And I don't blame you. I wanted to deny it, to tell him I had moved on. But my chest betrayed me, aching with all the words I had never been able to say. You left. I whispered, the old wound tearing open. You didn't even say goodbye. He flinched, and for a moment, the confident mask slipped. I know. I was a coward. Damn right you were. My voice cracked, harsher than I intended. Years of bottled hurt poured out in one breath. You broke me, Ethan. You made me believe I stopped, choking on the words. He leaned closer, desperate now. I made you believe what? My eyes burned, but I refused to look away. That we were something real. That maybe, just maybe, I wasn't insane for feeling what I felt. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then, softly, he said, we were real. At least for me. The ground beneath me seemed to tilt. I searched his face for a lie, for some cruel trick. But all I found was raw honesty. Then why? I asked, voice breaking. Because I was terrified. He admitted, his hands clenching into fists. Terrified of what people would think. Of what my father would do. Of what it meant to love you. So I ran. And I've regretted it every damn day since. His words cracked something open inside me. Something I had buried beneath years of bitterness. I wanted to hate him. God, I wanted to hate him. But I also wanted to reach out. To close the distance. To feel if he was still the boy I once knew or if he had become someone new. Someone worth trusting again. The storm outside rattled the windows. And I realized the storm inside me was far louder. I took a slow breath. My voice steadier now. You don't get to walk back into my life and expect forgiveness. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said quietly. His eyes found mine, pleading. I'm asking for a chance. My chest tightened. Against all reason, all logic, part of me wanted to give it to him. And that was the beginning, the moment the past clawed its way back into the present. Refusing to be ignored. The moment everything changed. He looked at me as if my answer mattered more than oxygen. His chest rose and fell, ragged, as though the weight of the years we'd lost pressed down on him. I hated the silence. I hated how heavy it was. But more than anything, I hated how badly I still wanted him sitting there. So close that if I leaned just a little, our shoulders would brush again, just like they used to. I got up abruptly, the movement startling him. I need a drink. The kitchen was only a few feet away, but it felt like crossing a battlefield. I yanked open the cabinet, pulled out a glass, and filled it with water. My hand trembled, and the sound of it against the glass betrayed me. Behind me, I heard Ethan's footsteps approach. You still drink water when you're nervous, he said softly. The familiarity of the way he remembered something so small, so insignificant stabbed at me harder than any apology could. I spun around, glass in hand, the words tearing out before I could stop them. Don't you dare act like you know me anymore. He flinched, but he didn't back away. His eyes burned, and I saw the boy I once knew flicker beneath the man standing before me. You're right. I don't. But I want to. If you'll let me. My laugh was bitter. You don't get to waltz back into my life after vanishing and ask me for that. You don't get to ask for anything. I know. His voice cracked. But I'm asking anyway. The rain hammered harder against the window, as if the storm outside refused to let us ignore the one raging between us. You ruined me, I whispered, my voice breaking despite all my attempts to keep it steady. Do you know what it was like, Ethan? Do you know what it felt like to wake up every day, wondering why I wasn't good enough for you to stay. His face twisted with pain, and for once, he didn't try to hide it. You were always enough. It was me who wasn't. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to throw the glass across the room and shatter it into a million pieces, like he had shattered me. Instead, I set it down gently on the counter and pressed my hands against the cool surface, trying to steady myself. Then I felt it. His hand, tentative and trembling, brushing against mine. I froze. The warmth of his skin seeped into me, and I hated that it still felt like home. Don't, I said, my voice low, but I didn't pull away. When I finally turned to face him, his eyes were glassy, searching mine for something: permission, forgiveness, anything I wasn't sure I could give. I missed you, he confessed. Those 3 words cut deeper than any knife. I shook my head, unable to breathe. You don't get to say that. It's the truth, he insisted, desperation lacing every syllable. Every day, every damn day, I thought about you. I thought about the way you laughed, the way you rolled your eyes at my stupid jokes, the way your hand felt when it brushed against mine. I thought about the life we could have had if I hadn't been such a coward. Tears stung my eyes, hot and unwelcome. I tried to blink them away, but one slipped down my cheek anyway. His gaze caught it, and his face crumpled. I'm sorry, he whispered, and for the first time, I believed he meant it. Pulled away, pacing the small living room because standing still felt impossible. You can't just come back and say you're sorry, I said. Do you even know what those years did to me? Do you know how hard I had to fight just to accept who I am? And where were you, Ethan? Where the hell were you when I needed someone the most? His voice broke as he answered. Running. From myself. From everything. And I regret it more than anything. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. Regret doesn't fix the past. No, he admitted. But maybe it can change the future. We stared at each other across the room, the storm's howl filling the silence. My chest ached with every breath, torn between fury and longing, between the wounds he left and the love I couldn't kill no matter how hard I tried. I don't know if I can do this, I whispered. Then don't decide now, he said, taking a tentative step toward me. Just let me stay. Let me prove I'm not the same kid who ran away. The word stay echoed in my chest, dangerous and sweet. I closed my eyes, trying to shut him out, trying to shut out the years of pain, the nights I cried into my pillow, the countless times I told myself I was over him. But then I opened them, and he was still there, real, flesh and blood, his eyes pleading with me in a way that made it impossible to look away. I didn't say yes, but I didn't tell him to leave either. Instead, I collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion pulling at my bones. He stood there, watching me like I was the only thing that mattered. After a long moment, he lowered himself onto the other end of the couch, keeping a careful distance, as if he knew the invisible line between us was fragile. We sat in silence, the storm outside slowly easing into a softer drizzle. For the first time in years, I let myself really look at him. The man he had become. The man who had broken me and yet somehow still carried the key to the pieces. And I hated myself for realizing I still wanted him. Time passed in slow, heavy minutes. The sound of the rain faded, replaced by the steady rhythm of his breathing beside me. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. Do you remember the lake? My chest tightened instantly. Of course I remembered. Every detail. The way the water shimmered under the moonlight. The way the air smelled of pine and gasoline from his old truck. The way he almost kissed me that night. How could I forget? I said, my voice barely audible. His lips curved in a sad smile. That was the night I realized I loved you. The words stunned me. They hung in the air, heavy and impossible to ignore. I stared at him, my heart pounding. You never told me. I couldn't, he admitted. But I should have. God, I should have. I didn't know what to say. My throat was tight, my body torn between wanting to run and wanting to collapse into his arms. So I did the only thing I could. I turned away, hiding the tears that spilled over again. And still, I didn't tell him to leave. That night stretched endlessly. Two souls trapped in the same room with too much history between them. But under all the anger, under all the pain, there was something else, a fragile thread connecting us still. Stubborn and unbreakable. And I knew, no matter how hard I tried to deny it, that this was only the beginning. The clock ticked past midnight, yet neither of us moved. The quiet was suffocating, broken only by the soft hum of the radiator and the occasional car whooshing past on the wet street outside. Ethan leaned forward, elbows resting on his knees, his hands clasped tight like he was holding himself together. Do you want me to go? I hated how the question hung in the air. Heavy. Impossible. I hated how much of me screamed yes, while the other half screamed no. I don't know. I admitted, my voice barely audible. He nodded slowly, like he had expected that answer. But his eyes stayed fixed on me, unwavering. You don't owe me anything, he said, his tone softer now. Not forgiveness. Not even a conversation. But I can't leave without at least trying to tell you what you meant to me. What you still mean. I scoffed, shaking my head, but my throat burned. You've got a hell of a way of showing it. I know, he whispered, and I'll regret it until the day I die. The room was too small for the storm inside me. I got up and paced, my bare feet sinking into the worn rug, my mind a carousel of memories I didn't ask for. Him waiting by my locker, him sneaking me notes in class, him vanishing after graduation and leaving me with silence sharp enough to bleed me dry. You want to know what it was like after you left? I turned on him, my voice cracking. It was hell, Ethan. I was drowning, and you were the only one who ever made me feel like I could breathe. And then you were gone. His face crumpled, guilt etched into every line. I was scared. You think I wasn't? I snapped. You think I had it all figured out while you ran? I was terrified too. But I stayed. I faced it. Alone. The word hung in the air like a blade. Alone. He stood then, closing some of the distance between us. You were always stronger than me. That's not the point. I know, he admitted, his voice hoarse. And I can't change the fact that I failed you. But I'm here now, and I want to try. If you'll let me. His closeness rattled me. His scent familiar. Achingly familiar stirred something deep inside me I had spent years trying to bury. My body remembered him even if my mind screamed not to. I shook my head, backing up until I hit the wall. You don't get it, do you? You can't just erase years of pain with a few apologies. I'm not asking you to erase it, he said, his voice steady but his eyes desperate. I'm asking for a chance to make new memories that might hurt less. That broke me, because beneath all the anger, all the bitterness, I wanted that too. I wanted new memories. I wanted to know if we could still be something, if the spark that once nearly consumed us was still alive. And God help me. It was. I looked away, my chest heaving. You should go, I whispered, though it felt like tearing my own heart out. He didn't move. He just stood there, staring at me with that look, the same look he gave me at 17 when we sat by the lake, when the whole world seemed to stop. If that's what you really want, he said softly, say it again. Look me in the eye and say it, and I'll walk out that door. My lips parted, but nothing came out. The words lodged in my throat, burning, because the truth was, I didn't want him to go. I don't know what force pulled me, what weakness betrayed me, but suddenly I was the one closing the distance. One step, then another, until I was standing right in front of him. So close I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "Damn you," I whispered, my voice breaking. And then, without permission, without thought, I kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was years of pain, anger, longing, and love crashing together all at once. His lips met mine with equal desperation, his hands cupping my face like he was terrified I'd disappear if he let go. For a moment, the world stopped. The storm outside, the years between us, the Scarsway were just two boys again, finally doing what we should have done all those years ago. When we pulled apart, both of us breathless, my forehead rested against his. "This doesn't fix anything," I murmured, though my body trembled with the truth I couldn't deny. "I know," he whispered back, "but it's a start." We sank onto the couch again, this time closer. The invisible line shattered. His hand found mine, tentative at first, then firm when I didn't pull away. I hated how right it felt. "I don't trust you," I said, staring at our intertwined fingers. "You don't have to," he replied softly. "Just let me earn it." I exhaled shakily. "That's a tall order." "I've got time." The night stretched on, but neither of us spoke again. We just sat there, our hands still tangled, the silence less suffocating now. Outside, the drizzle had stopped, leaving only the faint glow of the city lights. And for the first time in years, I felt something fragile, something dangerous, something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ethan. We stayed on the couch, our hands loosely intertwined. The silence between us different now, no longer suffocating, but raw, waiting to be filled. Every time I shifted, his thumb brushed over my knuckles, a silent reminder that he was still there, that this wasn't a dream clawing its way out of memory. But when dawn light crept through the blinds, reality pressed down hard. The pale gold painted the apartment in unforgiving honesty, stripping away the storm's cover of darkness and intimacy. I pulled my hand back gently, and Ethan let me. "I should shower," I muttered, standing too quickly, as though distance might protect me from myself. He nodded, though his eyes lingered. "Do you want me gone before you get back?" The question was sharp. A blade pressed against the tender skin of my chest. I swallowed hard. "No. Stay." The shower didn't wash away anything. The hot water burned against my skin, but it couldn't burn away the years of hurt or the dangerous relief I felt in letting him touch me again. When I came out, dressed in a hoodie and jeans, he was still there sitting at the kitchen table, elbows on the wood, staring out the window like a man wrestling with ghosts. I made coffee, the scent filling the room. He glanced at me, offering a small, hesitant smile. "Still black. No sugar?" I asked. His eyes softened, surprised. "You remember." "Some things stick," I muttered, sliding the mug toward him. Our fingers brushed when he took it, and I cursed the jolt that shot through me. We drank in silence until he set his mug down, his gaze steady. "Can we talk? Really talk?" I hesitated, the walls inside me warring with the pull of his voice. Finally, I nodded. He exhaled, relief flickering across his face. "After I left, I thought about you every day. I wanted to reach out 1,000 times. But I was afraid. I thought maybe you'd moved on, that you'd hate me, that hearing my voice would only hurt you more." I let out a bitter laugh. You thought silence hurt less. His jaw tightened. I thought silence would protect you. And me. But I see now it was just me running. Again. You've got a talent for it, I said, sharper than I intended. I don't want to run anymore, he said quickly, leaning forward. Not from you. Not from myself. I came back to New York because I couldn't stand living in shadows anymore. And I came to you because, his voice faltered, but his eyes burned. Because you're the only person who ever made me feel like I was real. My chest ached with every word. Part of me wanted to believe him, to let those confessions stitch my wounds. But another part whispered warnings, reminding me how easily he had left, how deep the scars still ran. I looked away, staring at the steam curling from my mug. You don't get it, Ethan. I built a life without you. A hard, messy, lonely life but mine. And now you show up. And it feels like I'm 17 again, standing on the edge of something I can't control. He reached out, but stopped just short of touching me. Maybe we can face it this time. Together. That word together hung in the air, heavy with promise and danger. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed on the counter. I grabbed it, grateful for the distraction. But the message on the screen made my stomach sink. Mom, your father's in town. He asked about you. Can you come for dinner tonight? I hadn't seen my father in years, not since the fight that split us clean in two. He had wanted a son molded in his image. Not one who kissed boys in secret and came home with bruises that weren't from football practice. My hands trembled. Ethan noticed. What is it? Nothing, I said too quickly, shoving the phone into my pocket. But his gaze was sharp. It's not nothing. I met his eyes, fury and fear tangling inside me. Don't act like you care about my family drama now. His face tightened, guilt flashing across it. You're right. I wasn't there before. But I want to be now. I wanted to push him away, to shut the door he kept prying open. But the truth was, the thought of facing my father alone again made my chest tighten in a way I couldn't ignore. I sank into the chair across from him, my voice low. He never forgave me, for being who I am, for not being the son he wanted. Ethan's eyes softened. Then that's his failure, not yours. I laughed bitterly. Easy to say when it's not your father. You're right, he admitted. But I know what it's like to live with someone else's expectations crushing you. My father wasn't kind either. That caught me off guard. I had known his dad was strict, but he had never spoken about it back then. He looked down, his fingers tightening around his mug. The night I left, it wasn't just fear of the world. It was him. He found out about us, or at least suspected. And he made it clear what would happen if I didn't cut ties. My breath caught. So you chose him over me? No, he said fiercely, looking up. I chose survival. I was a coward. Yes, but I never stopped loving you. That's the truth, whether you believe it or not. The room spun. Pieces of a puzzle I thought I had buried began to rearrange themselves, revealing a picture I wasn't ready to see. Why tell me this now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Because I can't keep running from the truth. And because I don't want to lose you again. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something inside me. I wanted to resist. I wanted to hold onto my anger, to let it shield me from more pain. But beneath it all, the boy inside Meth, one who once dreamed of holding his hand in the daylight without fear, still ached for him. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, fighting the war inside my chest. Finally, I whispered, "Dinner's at 7. He blinked. What? If you're serious about proving you've changed, I said. meeting his eyes. "Come with me. Face my father. Then we'll see if you deserve a chance." Silence filled the room, heavy but electric. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then slowly, determination spread across his face. "I'll be there," he said. For the first time in years, I felt the faint spark of something I thought had died. Not forgiveness, not love rekindled, but possibility. The hospital room smelled faintly of disinfectant and wilted flowers. Machines hummed, monitors beeped steadily, and a thin stream of afternoon light slipped through the blinds, spilling across the bed where Liam lay. His chest rose and fell with the weight of exhaustion, but his eyes, those sharp, restless eyes, were alive. "I thought I lost you," Ethan whispered, his voice breaking in half. He sat on the edge of the chair, hunched forward, clutching Liam's hand as though it were the only tether keeping him grounded. "You almost did," Liam rasped, forcing a weak smile. "But you know me. I've always been too stubborn to go down easy." Ethan laughed shakily, but it wasn't really a laugh, it was grief spilling out. Relief trying to disguise itself. He brought Liam's hand to his lips, kissing the knuckles with a desperation that made Liam's heart twist. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of unsaid apologies, years of regret, longing that had been buried under layers of pride and pain. Finally, Liam said, "We wasted so much time." Ethan's throat closed up. He wanted to say, "I know." He wanted to scream, "I'm sorry." But instead, he leaned in and pressed his forehead against Liam's temple. "We don't have to waste any more." The weeks that followed were fragile. Liam's recovery was slow, but steady. Ethan never left his side, learned the rhythm of hospital life. From the morning rounds to the vending machine coffee that tasted like cardboard but kept him going. At night, when the world went quiet, Ethan would drag the stiff chair closer to Liam's bed and read aloud from old books they used to love in high school. Sometimes, Liam would drift off mid-sentence, his lips curving into the faintest smile. Other times, he'd stay awake, eyes glassy, listening as if Ethan's voice alone was keeping him anchored. One evening, after a particularly long day, Liam shifted slightly, wincing. "You don't have to keep doing this," he murmured. Ethan looked at him, startled. "Doing what?" "Taking care of me. Sitting here like you're my shadow. Don't you have a life outside these walls?" Ethan let out a humorless chuckle. "My life is here. With you." Liam's breath caught. He turned his head away, blinking fast. "You make it sound so easy." "It's not easy," Ethan admitted. "It's terrifying. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, or if you'll still want me in a year. But I know I can't walk away again. Not this time." Liam closed his eyes, swallowing hard. For once, he didn't argue. When Liam was finally discharged, Ethan insisted on driving him home. The fall air was crisp, the trees scattered with fiery leaves, and Liam rolled the window down, breathing deeply like he was tasting freedom for the first time. Ethan glanced at him, one hand on the wheel. "You look like you're about to write a poem about October." "Shut up," Liam muttered, but there was a faint smile tugging at his lips. They settled back into something that wasn't quite what they'd had before. But maybe it was better, more honest. Liam stayed with Ethan for a while, partly because he needed help, but also because neither of them wanted to be apart anymore. Their days became a strange mixture of tenderness and tension. Late-night conversations sprawled across the couch. Quiet mornings where Ethan would make too strong coffee and Liam would pretend to hate it but drink anyway. The walls between them, once so fortified, started to crumble. One night, as they sat side by side on Ethan's bed, watching some mindless show they weren't really paying attention to, Liam reached over and laced his fingers through Ethan's. It was such a simple gesture, but Ethan felt like the ground had shifted beneath him. You know, Liam said softly, eyes on the screen. I used to dream about this. About us. Even when I hated you. Ethan swallowed hard. Yeah. Yeah. Liam's voice broke. Just barely. I just didn't think I'd ever get it. Ethan turned, cupped Liam's face in his hands, and kissed him slow, deliberate, with all the years of longing pouring out in that single moment. Liam kissed him back like he'd been waiting forever. The winter came, and with it, a new rhythm. They argued sometimes about Liam's stubbornness, about Ethan's tendency to hover, but every fight ended the same way, with apologies whispered against each other's skin, with the unshakable knowledge that neither was walking away this time. On Christmas Eve, snow fell thick and silent outside Ethan's apartment. They sat by the window, 2 mugs of hot chocolate between them, a blanket tangled around their legs. Liam leaned his head on Ethan's shoulder. Do you ever think about what would have happened if we never ran into each other that day? All the time, Ethan admitted. He tightened his arm around Liam. And I don't like the answer. Liam let out a quiet laugh. Me neither. Months turned into a year. Liam's health improved. His laughter returned. And the shadows that had haunted him grew fainter. Ethan found himself smiling more, living lighter, like he'd been waiting his whole life for this version of home. They didn't need grand declarations anymore. Their love was in the ordinary, brushing teeth side by side. Grocery shopping. Liam stealing Ethan's hoodies. Ethan pretending to complain but secretly loving it. One evening in early spring, as they sat in the park watching the sunset, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. His hands trembled. His heart pounded. But when Liam turned to him, eyes wide, everything stilled. I don't have a speech prepared, Ethan said, his voice raw. All I know is, I've loved you since we were kids. And somehow, against all odds, I get to love you now. I don't ever want that to change. So, Liam, will you marry me? Liam's breath hitched, his eyes flooding. For a long moment, he couldn't speak. Then he laughed through his tears and nodded furiously. Yes. God. Yes. Ethan slipped the ring onto his finger, and Liam pulled him into a kiss that tasted like every promise they'd ever broken. Now mended. The world around them kept moving, seasons shifting. People coming and going, but for Ethan and Liam, time finally felt like it was theirs. No more wasted years. No more silence. Just the steady, undeniable truth of 2 hearts that had finally found their way home. And in the quiet of their shared life, in the simplest of moments, Ethan watching Liam read by the window, Liam laughing at one of Ethan's dumb jokes, they both knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.